Vulnerability is often misunderstood because for generations, we've been told that strength means never showing cracks, never letting emotions surface, and never admitting fear. Leaders have been conditioned to put on armor before stepping into the workplace, believing that invincibility earns respect, yet that very armor can also create distance between them and the people they lead. When you hide behind perfection, you unintentionally build walls that keep others from connecting to you. Vulnerability, on the other hand, strips away that false image and lets others see the human behind the title. It takes tremendous courage to lead without armor because vulnerability means exposure. It means stepping into uncertainty without knowing how things will turn out and still choosing to show up. It's standing in front of your team and admitting, I don't know all the answers, even though part of you fears judgment. But that moment of honesty is what creates trust because your team realizes you're not pretending. In that space of shared humanity, they see a leader worth following because you're leading with truth, not with a facade. When you embrace vulnerability, you shift from trying to control every outcome to allowing authentic connection to guide your leadership. This shift doesn't happen overnight because our instinct is to protect ourselves from criticism or failure. We're wired to avoid discomfort, yet leadership demands that we step directly into it. Being open about challenges doesn't weaken your authority. It strengthens it because it shows you're willing to grow. People admire a leader who can face reality without hiding behind false confidence. The beauty of vulnerability is that it invites others to drop their own armor. When a leader shares a story of struggle, a moment of doubt, or an imperfect journey, it sends a silent message. It's safe here. This safety isn't about lowering standards, but about raising trust. In an environment where vulnerability is welcomed, people speak more freely, take more creative risks, and invest more deeply in the shared mission. That willingness to bring their full selves to work is where teams move from good to great. It's important to remember that vulnerability is not the same as oversharing. It's not about revealing every detail of your personal life or unloading emotions without purpose. True vulnerability in leadership is intentional. It's about choosing openness when it serves the team, the vision, and the relationship. It's about saying what needs to be said even when it's uncomfortable, because authenticity is more important than protecting your ego. The power lies in sharing enough to be real, but with the wisdom to lead with purpose. There will always be moments when vulnerability feels risky. You might worry that admitting uncertainty will cause others to doubt your capability. But the opposite is often true. People trust leaders who tell the truth, even when that truth is messy. Pretending to have all the answers can create a false sense of security that quickly collapses under pressure. Vulnerability doesn't mean you abandon confidence. It means you root your confidence in honesty rather than illusion. That's a far more resilient foundation to lead from. When leaders model vulnerability, they open the door for others to show up more authentically. This has a ripple effect that transforms a team's culture over time. It normalizes conversations about challenges, allows for healthy debate, and ensures that no one feels they have to hide mistakes. This kind of environment fuels both personal and professional growth because it's built on the courage to be seen. And once a team learns that courage, they can face far greater challenges together than they ever could behind walls of pretension. Authenticity is the heartbeat of real leadership because it builds a bridge between who you are and those you lead. People can sense when you're putting on a mask, and while you might get compliance through authority, you will never earn true loyalty without authenticity. When leaders try to appear perfect, they unknowingly create a distance that discourages honest connection. Authenticity removes that distance, allowing your team to see you as a person first and a position second. It tells them you have nothing to hide, and that builds the foundation of trust. Trust doesn't appear out of thin air. It's earned through a consistent alignment between your words and your actions. When you say one thing and do another, even in small ways, people start to doubt your integrity. But when your actions reflect your values, you prove that your leadership is grounded in something real. This consistency becomes a silent promise to your team that they can depend on you, not just in easy times, but especially in challenging ones. Authenticity is the thread that keeps that promise intact. Transparency plays a powerful role in authentic leadership because it invites your team into the process rather than keeping them in the dark. Leaders who openly share their reasoning, their concerns, and even their uncertainties show respect for their people's intelligence and capacity. This doesn't mean revealing every confidential detail, but it does mean being honest about the why behind decisions. When your team understands your reasoning, even if they don't agree with every choice, they feel valued and respected. That mutual respect strengthens trust over time. The danger of inauthentic leadership is that it creates a culture of guardedness. If you hide your struggles or pretend to have control over everything, your team will likely follow your example and hide their own challenges. This leads to surface-level communication where important issues go unspoken until they become crises. Authenticity disrupts that cycle by giving permission for honest dialogue. It replaces fear-based silence with openness, which is essential for solving problems effectively. One of the most impactful ways to practice authenticity is by admitting when you've made a mistake. Too many leaders fear this will undermine their authority, but in reality, it does the opposite. When you own up to errors, you show humility, accountability, and the willingness to learn. This not only builds trust, but also models the kind of behavior you want to see in your team. People are far more willing to follow a leader who admits mistakes than one who refuses to acknowledge them. Being authentic also means aligning your leadership with your personal values, even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. There will be times when doing the right thing comes at a cost, but if you compromise your values for short-term gain, you lose the moral authority that real leadership demands. Your team pays close attention to how you navigate these moments. They remember whether you stood firm in your principles or bent to pressure, and that memory shapes their willingness to trust you in the future. Authenticity doesn't mean being unfiltered at all times or speaking without thought. It's about being genuine while exercising emotional intelligence. It's choosing honesty that serves the greater good rather than self-indulgence. This balance ensures that your openness strengthens relationships instead of damaging them. When your team knows you speak from a place of integrity and respect, they listen more closely and engage more fully. That trust becomes the cornerstone of a healthy, high-performing team culture where everyone feels safe to contribute their best. Mistakes are often seen as stains on a leader's reputation, something to hide or downplay, but in reality, they can be powerful stepping stones to growth. When leaders treat mistakes as proof of failure, they create an environment where people fear taking risks. This fear slowly kills creativity and innovation because no one wants to be the one who messes up. But when mistakes are reframed as valuable lessons, they become opportunities for learning and progress. A leader's attitude toward mistakes sets the tone for the entire team's approach to challenges. Owning up to mistakes is a sign of strength, not weakness, because it shows a willingness to take responsibility rather than shift blame. Leaders who can say, "I got this wrong, and here's what I learned," demonstrate humility and emotional maturity. This creates a ripple effect where others feel safe to admit their own errors without fear of humiliation. That safety leads to faster problem solving because issues are addressed openly instead of being hidden. By facing mistakes head on, leaders build credibility and trust that cannot be faked. When mistakes are embraced as learning moments, they create resilience within a team. Instead of seeing setbacks as endpoints, people start viewing them as part of the journey toward improvement. This shift in perspective keeps motivation alive even when things go wrong. Leaders who model this resilience show that challenges are temporary and that each misstep contains valuable information for the future. Over time, this mindset turns teams into adaptable, forward-moving groups that aren't derailed by difficulties. Mistakes also offer leaders a chance to deepen their understanding of their own decision-making patterns. Reflecting on what went wrong and why can reveal blind spots or biases that might otherwise remain unnoticed. This kind of self-awareness is essential for growth because it allows leaders to make more informed choices next time. Without reflection, mistakes risk becoming repeated patterns instead of lessons learned. Leaders who take time to understand their errors become more strategic and intentional in their actions. Acknowledging mistakes in front of your team also builds authenticity, showing that you value truth over image. In a world where many leaders work hard to maintain a flawless persona, admitting a mistake can be a refreshing display of honesty. It humanizes you and makes you more relatable, reminding your team that perfection isn't the standard, progress is. This kind of leadership encourages a culture where learning is celebrated just as much as achievement. And in such a culture, innovation naturally thrives. A leader's reaction to mistakes can either inspire or demoralize their team. If a leader responds with anger, blame, or punishment, people will retreat into self-protection and stop taking creative risks. But if a leader responds with curiosity, support, and problem solving, they send a message that mistakes are not disasters, but part of the creative process. This doesn't mean lowering standards. It means holding people accountable in a way that fosters growth. A constructive approach ensures that mistakes become building blocks instead of roadblocks. When leaders consistently treat mistakes as lessons, they foster a growth mindset across the organization. This mindset empowers individuals to take ownership of their work, experiment with new ideas, and learn from outcomes without fear. It creates a team that is not only capable, but also confident in navigating uncertainty. In such an environment, mistakes lose their power to intimidate and instead become catalysts for progress. The result is a culture where everyone feels encouraged to stretch their abilities and contribute. Psychological safety is the invisible foundation that allows teams to perform at their highest potential. Without it, even the most talented people will hold back their ideas, creativity, and concerns out of fear of judgment or retaliation. When leaders model vulnerability, they signal that it is safe to speak openly, to take risks, and to share perspectives without fear of being shamed. This sense of safety isn't about lowering expectations, it's about creating a space where people can meet those expectations without the weight of fear. In such an environment, innovation and collaboration naturally flourish. When team members know they can express themselves without harsh consequences, they contribute more openly and more often. Leaders who make it safe for people to share dissenting opinions, propose unconventional solutions, or ask clarifying questions invite a broader range of ideas into the conversation. This diversity of thought becomes a competitive advantage, allowing the team to see challenges from multiple angles. Without psychological safety, these valuable perspectives remain locked away. A safe environment ensures that brilliance isn't lost to silence. Creating psychological safety starts with how a leader responds to feedback and mistakes. If someone offers a critique or admits an error and is met with anger, dismissal, or sarcasm, they are far less likely to speak up again. But when leaders respond with curiosity, gratitude, and constructive discussion, they reinforce the message that input is welcome. This requires emotional discipline, especially when feedback stings or mistakes have costly consequences. Still, a calm and open reaction is what sustains trust over time. Leaders must also be intentional about making every voice matter, not just the loudest or most confident ones. Some team members may naturally hesitate to share their thoughts, especially if they've been ignored or shut down in the past. By actively inviting quieter members into discussions and valuing their input, leaders show that everyone's perspective is important. Over time, this consistent encouragement helps even the most reserved individuals feel comfortable contributing. When all voices are heard, teams make better, more informed decisions. Psychological safety is not about avoiding hard conversations. It's about having them with respect and empathy. Conflict will still arise, but in a safe environment, conflict becomes a tool for growth rather than a source of division. Leaders can guide these conversations by focusing on solving the problem instead of attacking the person. This approach allows disagreements to strengthen understanding rather than damage relationships. In fact, teams with high psychological safety often handle conflict more effectively than those who avoid it altogether. Trust plays a central role in maintaining psychological safety. Trust is built when leaders consistently demonstrate fairness, follow through on their commitments, and protect the dignity of their team members. It is broken when leaders play favorites, betray confidences, or fail to acknowledge contributions. Once trust is damaged, psychological safety erodes quickly, and rebuilding it takes significant time and effort. Protecting trust should therefore be a top priority for any leader seeking to cultivate a safe and thriving team culture. A workplace that values psychological safety becomes a space where individuals feel not only accepted, but also encouraged to grow. They take ownership of their work, share bold ideas, and step outside their comfort zones because they know they won't be ridiculed or penalized for trying. In turn, this creates a cycle of continuous improvement where the team's performance steadily rises. The leader's role is to nurture this environment consistently, ensuring that safety remains strong even under stress or high pressure. In such a culture, the fear of failure is replaced by the drive to succeed together. Connection is the glue that binds leaders and their teams together, turning a group of individuals into a united force. When leaders take the time to truly connect, they move beyond simply managing tasks and begin building relationships. This connection isn't about being overly friendly or blurring professional boundaries. It's about showing genuine interest in the people you lead. When team members feel seen and valued for who they are, their engagement and loyalty grow stronger. Leadership becomes less about authority and more about mutual respect. Vulnerability plays a key role in building that connection because it breaks down the walls that often separate leaders from their teams. When a leader shares a personal story or admits a moment of struggle, it sends a clear message: I'm human too. This openness invites others to share their own experiences, creating a bond built on authenticity rather than hierarchy. In those moments, the leader is no longer just a figure of authority, but someone relatable and trustworthy. Such trust transforms the dynamic between leader and team. Strong connections also foster empathy, which is essential for effective leadership. When you truly understand what motivates your team, what challenges they face, and what aspirations they hold, you can lead them more effectively. This understanding doesn't come from assumptions. It comes from listening deeply and without judgment. Leaders who regularly take time to check in with their people learn more than just surface details. They gain insights that help them guide their teams towards shared success. This empathy is the foundation for creating a supportive and productive environment. Building connection requires consistency because trust is not earned in a single conversation. Leaders who show up consistently, keep their promises, and make time for genuine interactions demonstrate that relationships matter. Small acts, like remembering important details about someone's life or acknowledging their contributions, can have a significant impact. These moments may seem minor, but together they send a powerful message: you matter here. Over time, this message solidifies the bond between leader and team. A connected team is far more likely to be engaged and motivated, even during difficult times. When people feel a strong connection to their leader and their peers, they are more willing to go the extra mile. This sense of belonging fuels resilience because team members know they're not facing challenges alone. Leaders who nurture this sense of community inspire a level of commitment that cannot be demanded, it must be earned. And once it's earned, it becomes a powerful driving force for success. Connection also strengthens collaboration by creating an environment where people feel comfortable sharing ideas and asking for help. In disconnected teams, individuals may guard their knowledge or avoid seeking support for fear of appearing weak. But in connected teams, collaboration is natural because trust has removed those barriers. Leaders set the tone for this by modeling openness, asking for input, and valuing contributions from everyone. And when people feel connected, they understand that their success is tied to the success of the whole team. Ultimately, the connections a leader builds determine the culture of the team. A leader who invests in relationships creates a culture of mutual respect, shared purpose, and open communication. This culture becomes self-sustaining because team members in turn invest in each other. Even as challenges arise, the strength of these connections keeps the group united and focused. The leader's role is not just to manage the work, but to foster these bonds, ensuring that the team remains strong, motivated, and committed to a common vision. Courageous conversations are the lifeblood of healthy leadership because they address the issues that most people would rather avoid. Leaders who lean into discomfort instead of sidestepping it show that they value truth over temporary peace. Avoiding hard conversations may feel easier in the moment, but it often allows small problems to grow into much bigger ones. A leader's willingness to address challenges directly sets the tone for the entire team's communication style. When handled with care, these conversations become opportunities for growth rather than sources of division. Vulnerability is at the heart of courageous conversations because it requires openness about feelings, mistakes, and concerns. When a leader is willing to admit uncertainty or acknowledge their role in a problem, it creates space for others to do the same. This honesty fosters mutual respect even in moments of disagreement. The goal is not to win the conversation, but to create understanding that leads to solutions. In such an environment, differences become bridges to progress rather than walls that divide. The way a leader approaches these conversations determines whether they build trust or erode it. Entering the discussion with empathy, active listening, and a focus on shared goals creates a constructive tone. Leaders who approach difficult topics with accusations or defensiveness often shut down dialogue before it has a chance to be productive. A calm, respectful approach communicates that the conversation is about solving the problem, not attacking the person. This helps everyone involved stay engaged and open to finding common ground. One of the most powerful aspects of courageous conversations is their ability to clear the air. Unspoken frustrations can quietly drain morale and energy, but bringing them to light can restore trust and momentum. This doesn't mean every discussion will end in full agreement. Sometimes the outcome is simply mutual clarity. Yet even that clarity has value because it replaces uncertainty with understanding. Over time, a culture that embraces direct communication becomes more resilient and adaptive. Courageous conversations also create accountability, both for leaders and their teams. When issues are addressed openly, everyone knows where they stand and what is expected of them. This transparency reduces the risk of misunderstandings and ensures that responsibilities are clearly defined. Accountability in this context is not about punishment, it's about ownership and follow through. When people know they will be held accountable in a fair and respectful way, they are more likely to deliver their best work. Leaders who model the ability to handle difficult topics encourage their teams to do the same with each other. This reduces reliance on the leader to mediate every conflict and empowers team members to resolve challenges directly. It builds confidence in their communication skills and strengthens the group's ability to work together. Over time, the team becomes more self-sufficient and capable of addressing problems before they escalate. This shared responsibility for open dialogue fosters a sense of unity and trust. Ultimately, courageous conversations keep the focus on progress rather than avoidance. They allow teams to address barriers head-on, learn from each other, and move forward with a clearer sense of purpose. Leaders who commit to having these discussions regularly show that they are invested in both the well-being of their people and the success of the mission. In doing so, they create an environment where honesty is not feared but valued, and where every voice has the chance to contribute to meaningful solutions. Leading with heart means approaching leadership with empathy, compassion, and a genuine concern for the people you serve. It's the choice to see team members as human beings first, rather than just roles or resources. Facts and strategies may drive decisions, but emotions shape the way those decisions are received and acted upon. When leaders lead with heart, they inspire trust and commitment that goes far beyond formal authority. This emotional connection is what leaves a lasting mark on the people they influence. Vulnerability is a powerful part of leading with heart because it creates a sense of shared humanity. When a leader admits they've faced challenges or expresses genuine gratitude, it builds a bridge between them and their team. People respond to sincerity far more than to carefully curated perfection. A leader who isn't afraid to show emotion demonstrates that caring and strength are not opposites but partners. This balance encourages others to bring their whole selves to their work without fear of judgment. Leaders who lead with heart understand that empathy is not a weakness, but a strategic strength. Taking the time to understand someone's perspective can uncover hidden challenges, unspoken concerns, or untapped potential. This understanding allows leaders to respond in ways that motivate and support their teams effectively. Empathy doesn't mean avoiding tough decisions. It means making those decisions with an awareness of their impact. This sensitivity creates loyalty because people know their leader considers their well-being. Acts of compassion, no matter how small, have a powerful ripple effect in a team's culture. A simple acknowledgement of someone's hard work, a genuine thank you, or offering support during a personal challenge can make a lasting difference. These moments show that the leader sees more than just performance metrics. They see the person behind the work. Over time, this builds a sense of belonging that fuels motivation and dedication. People are far more willing to go above and beyond when they feel genuinely cared for. Leading with heart also involves being present, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. When leaders give their full attention during conversations, they show respect and value for the person speaking. Distractions and divided focus send the message that other matters are more important. But when leaders are fully present, they create a sense of connection that strengthens trust. This attentiveness signals that the team's voices matter and that their contributions are truly valued. The impact of leading with heart is often felt during times of challenge or change. When uncertainty or setbacks occur, people look to their leader for both direction and reassurance. A leader who leads with heart doesn't ignore the difficulty, but addresses it with honesty and compassion. They communicate openly, acknowledge the emotions in the room, and help the team navigate the path forward together. This approach not only maintains trust, but often deepens it during tough times. When leaders combine authenticity, vulnerability, and compassion, they leave an impression that lasts long after projects are completed or goals are met. People may forget exact words or strategies, but they will always remember how their leader made them feel. Leading with heart creates a legacy built not only on achievements, but also on relationships. It shapes a culture where kindness is seen as compatible with high performance and where people feel proud to be part of something bigger than themselves. This is the kind of leadership that inspires others to lead with heart in their own way.